our future Subspace main stumbles across fighting. It's a surprisingly good quality game for Roblox standards. At this stage, they're just trying to figure out the game a bit and figuring out what does what. They don't really go too deep into it. For now, it's mostly just there to kill some time. You'll often see these players running around aimlessly, kind of just trying to shoot anyone they see, with, you know, a huge emphasis on trying. After a few games, they find out Subspace is kind of fun, and, you know, they keep playing it. Why Subspace? Well, maybe it's because it's a pretty easy class to pick up, or maybe they just like the design. Regardless, it just feels good, and they're having fun. At this stage, they still don't really know about the weaknesses of the class, but that doesn't really matter. They're having fun, and that's all there is to it. Jesus Christ, these videos are starting to they're starting to sound like a copy and paste of the last. By now, our Subspace main has played quite a few games, and they're getting pretty decent at it. They've looked into some other classes, but usually Subspace is just the most fun for them. They're noticing their own growth as a player, hitting their M1s more often, placing their Qs in better positions, and, you know, so forth. They're far from perfect, but hey, at least they're not complete deadweight anymore. I'm talking to you, little blood. At this point, our Subspace main realizes that Subspace is not all sunshine and rainbows. I mean, your 1v1 capabilities against most classes are like kind of horrendous. They get a bit frustrated because it just feels like no matter what they do, they just keep dying to Biograph. Oh my god. Scythe? This guy wasn't even... Okay. And Slingshot. Kill yourself. They can hold their own sometimes, sure, but these classes are just a bit too much. The stage is filled to the brim with, like, sighs and questions why they're just not able to win these matchups. But that's not it. If only it was. No, at this stage, not only do they know that matchups aren't in their favor, they think that their teammates are complete garbage now. It's not entirely their fault, and our Subspace main knows that. But they can't help but silently, or, you know, not so silently, blame their teammates for slight inconveniences. They're the type to say something like, wow, my team kind of sucked at the end of the game, and they kind of usually keep it at that. Sometimes they're in their right to do so, but sometimes... yeah, let's not talk about the other times. At this point, our Subspace main is tired of the issue with bad teammates and decides to go into scrims and... Wait, why does the script end here?
Turns out, some information was really inaccurate. We have to rewrite this part.
What? Really? What even is the inaccuracy?
So, like, turns out a majority of Subspace mains aren't really super active in scrims.
On God? Like, surely there's someone, right? I mean, I know a few Subspace mains are, like, decently active, like... Okay, look, maybe you have a point.
Well, it's not like they completely avoid scrims, but they don't really stand out. Most Subspace mains only really scrim when someone else plans it for them.
Oh. Well, that's something, huh? Well, what do we talk about now, then?
Honestly, I think we just got it. You know, the whole doesn't play unless other people plan it thing.
Right. So, at this stage, our Subspace main decides to slightly look into scrims. It's nothing huge. They usually just join a team and let fate do the rest. They enjoy being with people that know what they're doing, but usually don't drop insanely impressive games just yet. Speaking of scrims...
Molly, don't do it.
Bowls is a fighting server based around community events. We've got ragged queues with a prize pool, coaching for those who need it, and yeah, I can coach for you too if you want. Don't worry about that.
Seriously, Molly, stop.
And it's also like the official server for my YouTube community, so I'd really appreciate you joining. Oh, and also I'd like to ask you to subscribe. If you do, I might finally be able to replace a job that I hate and focus more on creating content for y'all to enjoy. You know, Thanks in advance. After some practice in scrims, they've really gotten better at Subspace. They're now something people in opens have to actually watch out for, or well, as much as the class allows. They're really good when their team is at least decent, but they're still quite bothered by the inconsistency of open servers. At this point, our Subspace main has worked around the issue of bad teammates and can hold their own in most situations. They might have even picked up a new class to deal with this issue specifically, but despite all this, one thing still eats away at them. The matchups are still horrible. Classes like Biograph, Sword, Skateboard, or Slingshot still feel impossible to deal with. It's annoying, sure, but at this point they've kind of just learned to accept it. They've hit the ceiling of what Subspace can do, and that's where they end. Or is it? You see, Subspace as a class isn't strong in 1v1 scenarios. That's all fine and dandy, but what most people fail to take into account of is that Subspace can massively abuse situations in which the enemy isn't looking at Subspace. With this in mind, our Subspace main gets to a new level of Subspace gameplay. They just avoid getting noticed by the classes that are most dangerous to him, and instead chips them down whenever they're not looking. This allows them to get an upper hand against the majority of the classes. They go from being a target of pick classes to targeting the pick classes. Now, we've reached the end. It's been quite a short one, but they've done it. They became one of the best Subspace players. Unfortunately, due to their general inactivity in scrims, they haven't really made a big name for themselves, but that's okay. It's just what the Subspace mains of this time decided to do. Maybe a new generation of fighting players will change this, but we'll have to await that.